Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. And 1 second. And let's see. So this should be Sandy Berger. Sandy, hi. How are you? You there?
I'm here.
Perfect. All right. So let me pot you up for just 1 second, and then we'll introduce you and we'll do the show. So glad to have you here. But here
Sounds good.
So everyone, again, welcome into the Computer America Show. Hopefully everyone there had a great weekend and, you are ready for the new week. Hey, it's going here. We are expecting a lot of snow. I know that a lot of people across the country have been getting a lot of inclement weather, and we hope that all of you are shoveled out, warm, nice and safe. And in the meantime, we have a great show planned for you, where today on the program, we have none other than Sandy Berger. She is, of course, writes for CompuKiss and a lot of other publications I'm sure that you've heard of. And more than that, she is a consummate, just technology person. She's she comes on the show every month and provides her insights and her reviews and things like that. And this month is especially important to have her here because CES 2019 just happened. And coming out of that, there's always everyone trying to vie for the spotlight, the attention, things like that. But to have an objective person come on the show and really say what was what really stood out, I think, is something that we definitely value. So everyone, full hour of Sandy Berger here. So just one more thing before we start, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find a link to the show notes, anything like that you can find at our website. Also, while you're there, check out the live video stream, also twitch.tv/computeramerica. And last but not least, actually, I think that might be it. I'm sure I can mention stuff like podcasts, but hey, why don't we go ahead and just jump right into it? And everyone in the chat room, how you doing? Let's go ahead and get started. So here we go. As I said before, Sandy Berger, longtime correspondent, and if you haven't heard her on the show before, you're in for a treat. So Sandy, thank you for joining us, and how you doing?
Hi, Ben. I'm good, and I'm glad to be here.
I am happy that you're here as well in the nick of time, and a lot to talk about. So I guess, before we even say anything specific about CES, just tell me about, kind of how you took in the news. Like, did you go to the event? Because I know that you go to many CESs, or did you find yourself kind of, staying at home and letting other people do the legwork? How was your CES experience this year?
Well, I waited until the last minute and said I'm not going to go because I can do everything online. Why should I go? However, at the last minute, as always, I went and I had a great time. It's wonderful to see people in person, even if you can get all the information you need online. That personal coordination is just spectacular. And of course there's press parties and lots of partying and stuff like that. So I had a wonderful time.
Yeah, the seedy underbelly that is PR get-togethers, and all the great companies try to woo the press into coming to their cocktail party. I mean,
Right.
it's a lot of fun. It certainly is. But really, the main thing that people really want to hear about, though, I think, are all the gadgets, all the toys that are coming out. So
Right.
yeah, and
And that's why the press parties are so much fun, because these big press parties at CES, I mean, you have to have press credentials, so it's not open to just anyone. But when you get there, you find out that each party has maybe 100, 200 vendors who have chosen the prime product that they want to feature, and they're there to show it to the press. So they're there to show it just one thing, to show it to you. Where if you roam around the show floor, you could spend hours. Actually, you could spend days looking for what's hot and the right product. And at the press shows, you get to see it all at once.
absolutely, and obviously there was a lot to talk about. I think LG, in we're going to talk about specific products, but just overall, the sentiment was that LG came out and was like, Sony who, and be it monitors, be it televisions, be it anything else, LG really came out and said, hey, we have the cool stuff. Other people may have very pretty things, but we have really cool things. And I think that's a good place to start because they were kind of our pick for the most exciting. How did LG stand out to you?
Well, LG always has a press conference, so you can go to the press conference and they'll tell you about everything that's new. But the one really great thing about LG is they always have a great booth. And I call it a booth, but it can hold 30 other booths. It's a huge, huge part of the presentation. And this year, they had 256 55-inch TVs kind of together to create a wave of ceiling. So you walked in and the ceiling was kind of waving in front of you, undulating, pictures scrolling across all these TVs together, great audio. It was spectacular. Now, I've seen a lot of great things, displays at CES, but I thought this was one of the best I've seen in a long time.
That sounds very exciting, and I'm trying to pull up a video here of exactly what you're talking about because I had not heard, and obviously we heard about the individual products, but we're starting to see more of those TV. Or I should say monitor installations. I know you like to play volume, but yeah, it was like their monitor installations. I've seen them in restaurants and things like that. And actually, I think I found, thanks to CNET, exactly what you're talking about. And man, that must have taken a lot of effort. Like they and for everyone out there not watching the video portion, they really did. I guess this really shows off the flexibility of these screens, like the rollable TV that I'm sure we're going to touch on. This
Right.
shows that these screens are bendable.
If you're looking at a video of it, it's very hard to describe what they actually did with all these TVs because it all looks like one absolutely huge display, and
Right.
yet it's rolling. So it's curved in the first curve and the second curve and the third curve, and it was truly spectacular.
Yeah, and of course, they have lots of video and lots of nature stuff. I mean, it's very, very cool. And then I guess beyond that, they showed that this is something that people are going to be able to buy. Like obviously, buying that many TVs is probably not
Right.
feasible for anyone. But you're going to be able to buy these things. Like this wasn't just like a tech demo. These are products that will be on the shelf later this year.
That's right. It was truly, truly amazing. And I give them the best display of the whole place. And there were hundreds of displays there. So LG really did well. They had a lot of other things, of course, they make kitchen appliances. So they had their washers and dryers, and they had steamers for the home. So instead of dry cleaning your clothes, you had the steamer room or a little shell that you could put your clothes in. Quite a bit, actually. There was quite a bit.
Very, very cool. So why don't we go ahead and stick to television for a second, because there were,
Okay.
the obvious one was that, I think most people have seen the press conference so far of like the TV rising magically out of the little box, and of course it would, kind of unroll out of the stand that it had there. I mean, did you think that was a gimmick? Because that's the big question everyone's asking is rollable TVs. Sure, there's lots of implications for, just more durable screens, more durable displays. But is this a gimmick, or is this something people are going to say, hey, this is how you save space in a home?
This is something really cool. The whole screen comes out of like a small coffee table box, a rectangle, and use your remote control, of course, to control it, and it rises slowly all the way up to a full screen TV, or you can set it down so that it's only up about 8 inches or so, but then it will play music, it will have the weather and whatever you want to put on there. And then, of course, you can roll down completely and you don't see it anymore. Solves the problem of where am I going to put the TV? I don't have a wall to put it on. Right now, of course, they didn't give a price for it, and it's going to be pricey.
Yeah.
But it was definitely not a gimmick. It was extremely good looking and a unique idea.
I think so, and they really they really came out and said that, hey, this is something that you can buy, because sometimes we like I wasn't sure if it was LG or Sony also had like, it was like the wallpaper TV, and we've seen other TVs that were like translucent when they turned off, all kind of tech demos, and there was never really a product that you could afford. I think that the wallpaper, like the TV wallpaper one, was like $30,000, something like that.
Right.
Hopefully this one is not that case. Like this one you can actually afford. So,
Well, hopefully.
yeah,
I mean, you're going to have a few extra bucks if you want to be able to afford this. But again, as it stays on the market, prices will come down. There've been a lot of, TV things that were crazy and people didn't want anything to do with, like 3D TV.
of course.
Several CESs ago, that was a big thing that every manufacturer was talking about and touting, and they said it was going to be the greatest thing in the world. They came out with it. They all had different glasses, and a lot of people, at least I got nauseated from it.
Yeah,
I couldn't watch it.
there was
Nobody,
yeah.
the public did not accept it.
Yeah, there was a kind of a hidden danger, because I think that was the CES that I went to, or the one right after. Like, I don't know if it was as prolific as 2016, but I recall that you could walk around, and it wasn't so much that 3D was all the rage at that point. I think it was the year before, but the year I went, glassesless 3D was all the rage. And the problem is that you're walking around, and all these companies want to show off their their 3D, but it didn't really quite work. So like, you'd look at it out of the corner of your eye and you get like disorientated. So like, you'd walk around the showroom floor trying to dodge these displays. So and hey, speaking of things that might not work, 4K made it into the home. There's no doubt 4K for television is the way to go. And now we're talking about 8K. And if you could give your professional opinion, first of all, summarize why people should care or not care about 8K, and what do you think about TV companies already moving to the standard?
I think it's just typical that they're always moving to something new because they always want you to buy a new TV. However, and I must say before I say anything else, that 8K looks beautiful. They had displays there, an 8K TV next to a 4K TV, and you could see the difference. It was dramatic, the best picture I've ever seen. But there's no 8K content. So if you went out and bought an 8K TV, and by the way, they're going to be out this year, probably in a few months if they're not out there already. If you buy an 8K TV, really the only thing you can do is use it to upgrade a 4K picture. So as you can always do, is it upgrades it with some digital magic and makes it look slightly better. Definitely not worth buying an 8K TV right now. I don't think it's going to be worth it next year either. And it might never catch on because the manufacturers, the content producers are still working on 4K. I can't see that most of them will move to 8K anytime soon.
Well, and really, as far as I've heard of 8K, like if you are a huge fan of the Olympics, that's going to be really the first kind of event that will be shot natively in 8K and broadcast in 8K. That's
Right.
like a lot of content is actually shot in 8K, but it's kind of scaled down so that they can work with it, and
They can't transmit it in
right.
8K though.
Yeah, it's rarely broadcast in 8K, but it's
Right.
filmed in 8K. So like they have the
Right.
capabilities, but then they'd have to film even greater than 8K to be able to broadcast in 8K.
Yeah.
I think that, and I'm kind of right there with you, where it's not even future proofing. Like you can kind of say that about like routers, moving over to Wi-Fi 6 from Wi-Fi 5. My problem with 8K right now is that if you buy a TV with 8K, the other aspects of the television are going to get better by the time 8K catches on. So I kind of ran into this with 4K, where we bought a 4K TV and we're like, all right, 4K, this is great. Because it was the holidays, it was like $300. Who wouldn't?
Right.
And then like about the same time, you start hearing about HDR and HDR10 and things like in Dolby Vision, and then you realize the 4K is great, but a lot of the other aspects, including like the refresh rate and things like that, are not up to par. Like they were outdated as soon as I bought it, even though I got 4K. So I think other aspects are going to eventually get better, and your current 8K is going to be worse than when 8K actually matters. So
I think you're right. And that's what I would tell everybody. Don't worry about 4K right now. 8K right now. Just go with 4K.
right.
You can catch up later if you have to, or you want to, or it ever becomes something very popular.
Okay.
One thing I do want to just mention that wasn't on my list, Ben,
Sure.
but at CES, there was an interview that was done with the CTO of Vizio. Now, Vizio, as you know, is a big TV manufacturer. They're big. It's an American company. They only sell their products here, but they're very big. Anyway, he provided an interview where he told everybody what's going on with these smart TVs, which is that they are capturing all the information. They capture the screen. They determine what you're watching, and it all goes back to the manufacturer. And then the manufacturer either uses that to put ads on the TV or sells it to other companies who do the same. So if you're wondering why TVs have come down so much in price, a few years ago, $5,000 for a TV, right?
Yeah.
But now you can get the same TV with better quality, with 4K, and you can get it for $500. Well, why did the price come down so much?
And silly me
Because
thinking it was just, better supply chains, more efficient, cheaper, parts.
cheaper hardware?
Cheaper hardware, but there's more.
But it's not. It's because they're making money long after they sell you the device. So they can sell you the device with a very little margin. He said the margins on TV are 6%, which I believe. And then you keep that TV on and you go, and they constantly for years are watching what you're watching. So the manufacturer is making money after the sale, a lot of money after the sale.
So,
and that's what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty obvious because Vizio in particular is I think they settled the class action lawsuit. Now they're working how to actually get the money out to people. But yeah, they were sued for exactly that. They were monitoring TVs, and much to the chagrin of people, like it's not like, hey, we were kind of doing this and now we'll stop. No, they're like, hey, we were kind of doing this and now we'll just be more open about what we collect.
That's exactly why I think he made this interview, why he talked about it so plainly about how they're making their money, because of the class action suit and because they want to be known as the people who are telling everyone how it is. Now, there's a way to turn this off in your TVs if you want to, but you turn it off, or you can take off the internet completely. Then you've got a stupid TV again instead of a smart TV.
Yeah.
But if you do that, you're missing out on other things. And if you go and buy a Roku stick or even cable TV, in my investigation, I found out that cable TV does the same thing. They're taking a picture, they're selling your data. Well, because of the suit that was against Vizio, they now have to get your approval. Okay, so they make it sound real pretty when you set up the TV. If you want to get the most out of your TV, this is what, do you agree? And of course, everybody, 90% of the people agree. So they're agreeing to put this onto their TVs.
Yeah, and that is the difference between opt-in and opt-out, because if this was
Right.
opt-in, you'd get a much smaller fraction of people who would actually do it. But if you opt out, then, hey, you can be as upfront as you want about it. You could say, hey, we are going to sacrifice everyone's cats who are currently watching. And, you'd still
I
get
never
that
thought of
90%
that.
of people who don't bother to turn it off. It's just the way
Well,
the opt-out is when it comes to
people
technology.
don't even know it exists.
That too.
I just wrote my next week's newspaper column about this
Hmm.
because I really feel that people don't know that this exists. But
Yeah,
Bill Baxter, the CTO of Vizio, he told us all about it, and he
yeah.
made no qualms about that they're using this. The technology is called, for everybody out there, the technology is called ACR, Automatic Content Recognition.
Hmm.
And if you want to turn it off on your TV, because I don't remember personally if I said yes to putting it on or not. But if you want to turn it off, there are instructions on the TV, on the internet. Each TV manufacturer is different, but it's not hard to do. It's just a matter of knowing where to look. New York Times last summer did a wonderful article listing all the different manufacturers and the way you could turn off this ACR if you wanted to.
Yeah, and you really have to be careful. Like, you really have to read the words, because they love to put it into language that, I'm trying to find an example right now, but I think I remember, and we have a Vizio, but they're like, do you wish to not, but also do opt in out of, and then they never say we collect your data or something along those. They say
Right. They just say,
to
we're going to give
improve.
you a much better experience
Yes,
if you opt in,
yes, to
or
improve
if
your
you don't
viewing
opt out,
experience.
however they put it.
Right, yeah. To improve your experience, we'll send data back to ourselves about what you watch, so that
Right.
we can improve the future televisions. And yeah, they capture everything from settings to what you're watching to how long you watch. And we've even seen technology, especially with smart TVs, that can actually monitor how many people are in a room. So so that they know, if,
Okay.
hey, if you leave the TV
Right.
on with just the dog in the room, then they know that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and really, I mean, for anyone out there who's been I think it's Nielsen, a Nielsen family, like with the Nielsen ratings and things like that, this has been the dream of the television industry for decades, is to quantify just how many people are watching and what they're watching. So it
That's
doesn't,
right.
yeah.
And Nielsen has just come out with a way for this is, I think, only for cable companies,
Hmm.
but they now have a way for the cable companies to put in the kind of advertising that they want.
Hmm.
In other words, they go through, they scan your data, they say this person smokes cigars. I think that we should show them some cigar commercials.
Interesting.
They sell the data to the cigar company, and then Nielsen inserts that into the TV viewing. It's amazing.
As creepy and dystopian as that may sound, I think that is perfect. Like, honestly, I would enjoy that. I know that ads are part of television, and I got to be honest, I'm getting sick and tired of watching news and being like, hey, here's 4 different medication commercials, and it's always a family
Yeah,
barbecuing or
right,
taking the dog
right.
for a walk, whatever. And
Yep.
like,
I hate
that,
those two.
yeah, that has no bearing on me whatsoever. Like, I wish I was kind of shown, a car commercial or something like that. But that aside, and I'm sure that, if you really wanted to jump down the rabbit hole, like you did with your, next week's column, you'll find that not just cable companies, but internet providers are doing the exact, like, you kind of expect Google to do it, but
Hmm.
a lot of people who have, Charter or so, or Verizon or whatever, they do the exact same thing from the internet's point of view. Like, your internet company is monitoring your internet usage, so they're doing it as well.
Yes,
Everyone's
they
doing
are.
it. Everyone is.
Now, in the case of the TVs, we must admit that you would rather watch a car commercial. I would rather watch a lingerie commercial. So, I don't mind the targeted ads. It's
Hmm.
the idea of what they can do with it. If somebody gets in the future, it's a privacy minefield.
Yeah.
So it's not so bad right now, and it's keeping the price of TVs down, which is great. But what about misuse in the future? What about subliminal advertising? If they could
Yeah,
put this sort, any advertising in, they could do subliminal advertising where you don't realize that they're trying to control your mind to buy a certain product, or even
that's
worse, to do a certain thing.
yeah.
So
That's
it's
that's kind
scary
of what we
stuff.
saw. That's kind of what we saw with the 2016 with the Russian interference, quote unquote, and
Right.
that was such an interesting story because it wasn't about the misuse of Facebook. It was about the perfect use of Facebook. It was about a foreign agency influencing the way people were thinking and talking about the election simply through the type of advertising that they saw, through the videos and articles that they were recommended. And you're
Right.
right. If that extends to anything you see on the internet, anything that you see on TV, and anything that you hear on, let's say, satellite radio or something, then what do you do when everyone's pushing the same message to you? Because, hey, we know Sandy is on the other end of that TV, radio, computer,
Right.
whatever. Hey, you can be very manipulated. So you're right, that's a problem. But I feel like we've also digressed a bit from TVs and not just how scary they are, but hey, how cool they are. One more TV,
All right.
one more TV I wanted to squeeze in before the break because we're fast approaching it, is the Samsung Wall TV, and this is something that I know has been a feature of like malls everywhere. Having those giant jumbotron screens, or having those giant displays set up. This has been something that companies, organizations, big venues had access to for a long time, and now we're seeing. I think the Samsung Wall TV is available for just about anyone, but now we're seeing consumers able to do the exact same thing, and I think this is super cool.
Yeah, it's super cool the way they can build it, and I watched one built right in front of me. So they can take 12-inch squares and put them together to add them more and more 12-inch squares until you get the size TV that you want. But as you're adding these, the picture is stretching to encompass the whole screen, and it's not distorted or anything. It's just a bigger TV. That is really another fascinating thing about the TVs that are out there now. And then we have to talk about one other thing, Ben.
Sure.
Micro LED. Had you heard about those?
Uh, I mean, obviously, micro and LED, I know the words, but not together.
Okay. Well, there's OLED, which is organic LED, but micro LED means that each little pixel has its own colorations. Now, there's some really good things about this. Organic LED, actually, the TVs are only geared for like 10 or 12 years, and then it's going to wear out. The other thing about OLED is that the picture can still burn in, even though they say that it can't, it can.
Right.
So if you leave the same picture on over and over again, you can get burn in on the screen. Micro LEDs don't have that, and they offer a spectacular picture. I saw quite a few of them there on display. They're not out yet, but I think, in my mind anyway, that more people are going to be watching micro LED TVs than I will be watching 8K TVs in a couple years.
And for everyone out there watching the video portion, we just threw up a picture to kind of get what you mean. And they really, kind of show the difference between an LED and a micro LED. That's super impressive. Really, it shows that, we thought LEDs were very tight, and, whenever you bump up the resolution, the DPI that had to go along with it so that you didn't see the individual pixels had to go. And micro LED might be the thing to solve that. Like, it might be, and I'm sure that you know more about the tech than I do, but it kind of seems like this is the technology that if you get really up close to, let's say, the Samsung Wall or whatever,
Screen, yeah.
get really up close to like a 146-inch screen, you might still not be able to see individual pixels, and that's exciting.
It is. It's very exciting. I think that they have to work on manufacturing processes, get the prices down. But since everybody was into this, whether it's Samsung or Sony, or they all had something that they were working on with micro LED. So I think that that's the thing that didn't get much press, but is a good feature for future TVs.
I wonder how far away this is from being available in consumer tech, because they quantum LED and OLED are still on the higher end of the price points. Like if you're going to go with
Right.
one or the other, if you told me, hey Ben, I just bought an 85-inch OLED TV, I'd be like, holy cow, that's awesome. You're rich.
Yeah.
Let me see
Yeah.
it. And I think micro LED, if this thing's even better than OLED, then a few years out, and that, like, honestly, this might be the perfect example of why you shouldn't buy an 8K, is because if you can get an
Right.
8K with this, you're going to be sitting
Exactly.
so pretty. So,
Yeah, and I think that this is something that is, I was told, at least at CES, that this is something that they're working hard on and that they're going to be working on it consistently to get the price down. So it sounded like it was going to be cheaper than OLEDs, but I can't say that, and I can't say how soon it's going to be out there, but I think it's coming for sure.
that's very cool. So there's music playing in the background. Actually, got to turn that up. But Sandy, hey, we're at the break. When we come back, we're going to switch over from displays and televisions. Actually, we might talk about monitors real quick, and then move over to voice assistants. So your
All
area of
right.
expertise. Everyone, stay tuned. More Computer America right after this.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare,
What about Puerto Vallarta?
let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. And sorry about the levels there, everyone. But hey, we're back. And if you missed the commercials, check out any of our other shows, and you can go back and listen to those commercials at your leisure. Good luck with that. So in the meantime, also, if you miss any part of the show, you can check out the podcast, which anywhere podcasts are available, you can of course find the Computer America Show as well. So joining us today, and hey, for the rest of the hour, is Sandy Berger, our consumer electronics expert, Compukiss.com, if you want to check out her writings and musings and columns and things like that. And hey, and welcome back, Sandy. Thank you. And as I said before we move on from televisions, I wanted to throw the monitors in as well. And I'm not sure if you had a chance to check out, the way that people are going to be using computers. But hey, I think that the idea of having multiple monitors, at least as far as the people who make the monitors, seems to be going away. And instead, they just said, you know what? If you want the screen real estate of 2-3 monitors, why don't we just make one monitor the size of 2 to 3 monitors?
They had some huge monitors. They also had monitors that somehow sat absolutely straight and flat on your desktop, so they didn't take up hardly any space. They had monitors that you could hang on the wall. They had 8K monitors. You had a wide variety of monitors. Now, it does seem that the emphasis at CES anyway is going off of monitors and computers and onto AI and voice assistants.
Hmm.
But still, you could look just about anywhere and find these big monitors you're talking about.
Yeah, and hey, why not the perfect segue into AI voice assistant? And by the way, just to let's see if I recall some of the numbers, and just to keep this in mind, I think that Amazon, their last numbers that they put out said that they have sold about 100 million devices in one way or another that have Amazon Alexa built in, and
Right.
Google claims to have about 10 times that number, thanks to all the Android phones that have Google Voice Assistant already on them natively. And yeah, hey, between, I guess, somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2 billion devices, digital assistants have arrived.
Actually, totally amazing. I've been working or looking at these devices since the first Amazon Echo came out. Was it 3.5 years ago or so?
Yeah,
Not all that long ago. You'd think to be in that many homes, these things would have been out for a long time, but they really haven't been. At the show, Google was everywhere. Google had games and all sorts of things going on. They had their own building out on the venue there. Um, Google was everywhere. Alexa wasn't. I mean, Amazon wasn't. Amazon didn't have a big. Uh-oh, my
she heard you. She heard you
she
talking
heard me.
about her.
She's talking to me. I forgot I have one in this bed in this room. Oh
There you
well.
go.
Um, but anyway, she was not there except in these devices, and it was amazing to see some of the devices that she was in or that Google is in. Um, it's hard to say. I think Amazon had the lead, but Google is making it up very quickly.
Absolutely. And and from the capabilities that you saw at CES, because let's see, I don't, in your notes you have let's see, no, well, the obvious one, there was a toilet with Alexa built in.
Right.
I,
Yep. And there was one that Kohler had last year, and it didn't actually come out, but they had another one this year, and I think Toto or another toilet manufacturer had them. They were built. The Echo technology or the Google technology was built into mirrors and just about everything you could think of. And a few things that surprised me. One thing that really did surprise me is Resound, which is a big hearing aid company, higher end hearing aid company, but they had something with Lexi built in. I'll call her Lexi so she won't answer me.
sure.
Okay. So anyway, they had something with her built in, so you could talk to your hearing aid, which is pretty amazing.
And I mean, that seems to be how this whole thing is going, is because, and Amazon did this right. It's not built into the hardware. A lot of what Alexa does is, kind of on their side, server side. So, anything, any skills it picks up, anything it knows about you, it can, kind of do these things. And that means that the hardware is very lightweight, built into hearing aids, into smart speakers. Checking out an article from The Verge that's showing off all the individual standalone smart speakers that were shown off at CES. I mean, it seems like if you have a device and you're going to bring it to market, you're going to show it off at CES. Everyone thought, not should we put Alexa into this. It's a matter of why wouldn't we? Like, there really are no downsides. It's very affordable to do so.
Right. And you see more and more this year anyway. I saw more and more devices that had three voice assistants built in. See, I'm thinking they're people already. They're not people. But they had Google, Amazon, and Apple, the Apple Siri built in. So more and more TVs are having that built in. Everything from ceiling fans to blinds to, as you say, toilets, mirrors, anything you can think of. And a lot of them are having all three built in. So they're not taking a chance on which one of these is going to be the big winner.
Right.
It seems like in some ways it doesn't matter.
Well, and
Who's going to
actually,
win?
I want to speak to that because I've only seen one article about Apple, and Apple is very notorious for not really participating at CES. They have their own, WWDC. Like,
Right.
Apple has their own thing. They think they're too cool to play with the other kids, but at the same time, I saw one article about Apple, and they said that this was the best CES for Apple in years. And I didn't read the article because I felt like that was fluff. Apple, like, where they don't show off things explicitly, they try to get other people to work with them in their ecosystem. And they just haven't been doing that very well with, Apple AirPlay was doing well, but then it came to like Apple HomeKit, and HomeKit just didn't take off like it was supposed to, I feel like. So how did you feel
I
about Apple
agree
there?
with you that it hasn't taken off, and yet it was at CES without a doubt. It was in several TV manufacturers, the big ones, announced that they're going to support Apple devices. And Vizio, who I just talked about,
hmm
Vizio is going to support AirPlay and uh, the Apple Home. What's it called?
Apple HomeKit?
Apple HomeKit. Okay,
Yeah.
so they're going to support both of those in their TVs. And was a lot of talk like that. So Apple is realizing that they were late to the market, but if they want to get any place, they're going to have to do this.
They relate to the market that they really created with Siri.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and so with that being said, between Google and Amazon and Apple, I think, like you said, there really doesn't have to be a winner because if you can cram all of these in at once, yeah, and hey, we've even seen Amazon's solution work with Google's solution and vice versa. I mean, if they all talk with each other, and as long as it doesn't get too convoluted, where you have to talk to, let's say, Google to turn on your lights, and you have to talk to Amazon to, check out your
Yeah,
camera.
I don't think that's the way we're going. I think that all of these devices work with the whole ecosystem. So just about every Google Home device can turn on all your lights, and the Echo devices can turn on all your lights, and they can all do the same things basically. It's going to get even more complex because a big announcement that again didn't get too much press but really caught my eye is that Samsung announced that they're going to have their own home device. So, like Google Home or the Echo, Bixby is going to be there. I think they haven't quite given it a name yet. I think they're going to call it Galaxy Home
Yeah.
because Bixby doesn't have as much of a pull as far as names recognition as the others. But Galaxy watches, Galaxy phones, Galaxy everything. And it was very confusing. I went through the Samsung booth and I talked to various people there, and one said that this Galaxy Home is going to do one thing, the other one said it's going to do something else. So I don't think they have it quite ready yet or complete yet. But what it's going to do, or the goal of what they're going to do, is that Galaxy Home or with Bixby built in will be able to control both Google Home and Echo devices.
So,
So that would
and,
be one device that
yeah.
could control everything else in your home.
Yep. And so my problem is that Bixby, they've disabled it on a lot of phones for Americans. Like Bixby works very well with Koreans, with Japanese, and other languages that are not English. And because of that, they've actually disabled Bixby on many devices, and it just didn't work very well. And to even put it, I guess, on the same level as the other smart devices, we just haven't seen that level of sophistication when it comes to English speaking voice commands. And I'm not saying that's a problem. I mean, I'm not saying that if it doesn't work in America, then it's a crap product. I'm just saying that when you're trying to compete in the American market, I don't know if Samsung Galaxy Home, which, by the way, looks very interesting, very cartoonish kind of outer space, outer space.
Yeah, it's on like a tripod has three legs,
Yeah, it's
and it looks like a big giant black pear.
and I'm hoping, yeah, exactly, with the top sliced off, and I'm
Right.
hoping that Samsung maybe takes a note from Google, because this is something that you mentioned with Google, Whereas Amazon wanted you to get in at any price point, and they want to keep things relatively affordable, and they really didn't care about sound quality. This one looks like it might actually care about sound quality, though. It's big enough for some bass. It's a 360 speaker. I'm hoping that as far as a speaker part of a smart speaker, it's going to be pretty darn good.
I think it's going to be very darn good from what I saw at the CES. I think that this Galaxy Home is going to be good. The one thing that they all told me that it will do is control all the devices in your home as far as music. So right now, I've got Echo devices, I've got Google devices, and I can play music on all the Google devices, and I can play music on all the Amazon devices, but I can't play music on all the devices. And what they were promising about this Galaxy Home is that it was going to consolidate it so that you could play your music on everything in your home.
Yeah.
Which would be really cool if they can do it. I agree with you that Bixby has been behind and that they're better in the foreign markets and all that. But I have noticed recently, the last 3 months especially, Bixby getting better and better. Now, I don't use Bixby as much as the other devices,
Right.
but I do use it on my phone. And there aren't too many people that use it on the phone because it's hard to figure out. That's one thing that Samsung didn't do well. They didn't give an easy way to figure out what Bixby is for and what it can do. They put a button on the phone saying this is the Bixby button, but you give me 100 people and 98 of them will say they don't use it.
Yeah. I
So-
that's of course very interesting. And by the way, Melter Snowflakes in the chat room mentioning the fragmentation of services drives them crazy. And hey, I think in everyday life, when let's say you have a jar and you don't have a lid, so you grab a lid from something else, and the lid just works, with jars. It's standardization. It's a beautiful thing.
Right.
I think digital assistants are going to have to be the same way. Even if you have a service connected through, let's say, Google, but you want to talk to, Alexa to control it, it better just work. Otherwise, both, I think, take a hit in people's minds. It's not just Google's fault; it's everyone's fault.
Well, right now, Ben, they work as their own individual thing. So I have both in my home. And if I say, Google, do this, or Lexi, do that, it's actually fun to find an unusual question and give it to both of them and see who's better.
Yeah.
And they seem to go back and forth with that. But again, I have two ecosystems in my home, and those two, they don't fight with each other. They can all turn the lights off. They can both do everything except something like all play all music together.
Right.
So if Samsung has found a way to consolidate that, where all you have to do to any device would be to say, Bixby, do this, that would be spectacular. I don't think it's here yet, but it might be coming.
Might be coming. And hey, my perfect attempt at a segue here. So there's a device, and we talked about on the show a couple of months ago. It was from Amazon. It was like the Amazon wardrobe or something. It showed you different clothing, kind of like VR style, that kind of thing. So that kind of technology, being able to put yourself into, or see yourself with certain products, is very interesting because you can see how that applies to clothes shopping. But what about shoes? What about many other things that traditional retail still has over the internet? And it looks like companies are really trying to just drive that nail into the coffin of traditional retail. And you have a segment here in our notes, which again, show notes, the segment here in your notes about beauty. And I think it's kind of taking that same idea where it's really hard to conceptualize, let's say in this case, makeup, and they're trying to move it into the home over the internet, and that's very interesting. So I'm not sure how you want to tackle this topic, but beauty and CES, there were rumblings about CES being too male dominated, but at the same time, there are segments of CES that are kind of female focused. So I think this is one of them.
Well, the reason I put this in my notes was because this is the first year, and I've gone to CES for like 20 years. This is the first year that I saw a big emphasis on makeup and on aging. So there was a big health industry that was geared toward aging and trying to, well, figure out what you should do to stay young as long as you can. But then there were all these mirrors and devices that would help you look younger. So Olay, they had a beautiful thing. Another company called High Mirror had a mirror. Both of these mirrors that look at your skin, take some pictures day by day, and compare it, and then they can tell you what's wrong with your skin. Now they tell me that your face is different in different areas. So you might need different creams, but they will recommend serums and creams for your face. And then some of them, the best part was that they would show you a picture before you started using the product and 30 days afterwards to see if you thought there was some improvement, which is the problem if for all women they understand this, that you go out and you buy this product because they say it's going to make you look 10 times better,
Hmm.
and you use it for 2 weeks and you don't remember what you looked like 2 weeks ago. You know?
Yeah.
So you can't tell if it's really helped you or not. And I think there's a lot of future in stuff like that. Um, there was one gentleman, and I can't remember the name of the company. He was very Chinese. Matter of fact, his software was still all in Chinese. It hadn't been interpreted into English yet. But he had an app on his phone, or on his, no, it was on his pad, um, that could show you what you were going to look like in 10 years,
Hmm.
which was pretty amazing. I don't think I want to see it again.
That
But
and
it really took your skin type into account, where the wrinkles are in your face now, where things. I guess makeup artists do that all the time on for TV and that, but this was going to be an in-home thing. I don't think it's coming this year, but in the next 2 years, I'd say we're going to see a lot of these things.
so this was something that we touched on when we talked to some of our other correspondents who went out to CES, and they said that this year was like probably the biggest indication. You mentioned China. China had a lot of sway at CES. There were a lot of Chinese companies. They took more floor space. There were companies dedicated solely
right.
to the Chinese market. I think that when you talk about things like high mirror and in makeup and beauty and that kind of thing, I'm not saying that American women don't want to look their best, and I'm not saying it's strictly that, but I've seen a lot of it on a lot of makeup social media posts and things like that for the Chinese market. They really have an affinity for, I guess, taking these super glamour, super unrealistic, you can't tell if it's a virtual drawing or if it's an actual, person. They're way more into this, and I'm not sure if that's going to have, if it's going to translate that well to the American market, but this is huge business over there. So this is actually very interesting, and uh,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
the first indication that they are trying to transfer this to the American market. You're right; it is big over there and in Japan as well. But I think there were so many of these devices out there, or these systems and people working on it, that I think it's something that's going to be coming here fairly soon.
So apps that can show you how you'll age or how you'll look or things like that. I mean,
Hmm.
to me, that doesn't seem as practical as, let's say, an app that will show you with a different haircut or an app that will show you with a different wardrobe. How do you think that these, like age progression, I know is a thing, and like, for criminal search, like we're looking for this guy, he's been missing for
Yeah, and
five
he's
years.
10 years older now. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like in the home, though, I fail to see how that's as important as, like I said, a new pair, a new hat or a new haircut. Strange.
Well, That's because you're a man, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
You're a little strange. No, I'm just saying. I think women probably understand that more. And there were things like that, things that show you how you could look with a different hairdo and stuff like that.
Right.
But we've gone beyond that. We've gone into apps that can take your skin and tell you what's wrong with it. And
Okay, I got you.
some big companies, Procter and Gamble was there, and they had three different uh, devices and things that could help you to look better.
Hmm.
And that's what you were talking about, the Echo Look. That
Yeah, that
has
one.
the same thing. It takes your picture in various outfits, and you put on various outfits, and then it tells you which one looks the best. I haven't seen it since it first came out. I didn't get to keep mine. I had to send it back.
Hmm.
It has gone down from $2.99 to $99. So I don't think that that has really caught on that well.
Yeah.
But some of these other things from the female perspective, I will say, are pretty spectacular. Like Procter and Gamble, they actually have a website. Let's see if I can remember. It's called haircode.com, HAIRCODE. And you go there and it personality types your hair. And this is for men as well as women. So you answer questions as to, what sex are you, how old are you, and then what type of hair do you have, curly, straight, gray, do you have a problem with dandruff or whatever. And after you finish the whole thing, it recommends, of course, Procter and Gamble products. But if you've ever been in a shampoo aisle and seen like 100 bottles of shampoo in front of you and not knowing what's best for you, I think something like this, if marketed well, could actually take a good spot.
And I'm sure behind the veneer of everything at CES and what it can do for consumers, just like with digital assistants, artificial intelligence, of course, plays a role in this. The more data that they can collect, the more, like, let's say the application that can age up a person by 10 years, the more data that they collect, the before and after. And actually, kind of funny, there was kind of a quote unquote challenge a couple of weeks ago about the 10-year challenge. Take a picture of yourself today and take a picture of yourself 10 years ago, and post it to social media to show how much you've aged in 10 years. Things like that, that people, and this is the cynic in everyone, people are wondering if that was started by Facebook or some of these other companies to get a very accurate before and after 10 years so that they can feed that data curated into artificial intelligence programs so that they could do things like that better. The more data that they get, the better services like you're describing get by
Right.
default. So
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, it's all about data. That's
Mhm.
for sure.
Yep.
One last thing that I just kind of want to touch on. I know we don't have much time,
Yep.
but health products were absolutely huge here, and you might have already talked about some of them on your show. Have you been?
Health. Honestly, no. We
Really?
we got excited about the cars and the displays.
Well,
And hey,
yeah,
maybe we are
yeah.
all just guys.
There's some exciting
Um,
stuff, but I think for the aging population, especially, or people with problems, sleep was there were all different sorts of mattresses there and devices to help you sleep better and ways to help you relax, and it was truly amazing. Omron had just got FDA approval on their blood pressure wrist thing that you can wear all the time and take a regular when you're on the move someplace or wherever you're at, you can take your blood pressure. Um, there were things that were I thought truly amazing, and as a population ages, one thing that always comes into their minds is hearing, because your hearing does start to lose your hearing when you get older.
mhm.
Well, Zvox, now that's a company that makes sound bars
Yeah.
that helps clarify speech. They have taken their technology and put it into hearing aids, but the hearing aids are about $300 each. So you can get two hearing aids for $600, which if you go to an audiologist,
Oh,
go
that's like
through the
half.
tests and
Yeah.
everything's like $6,000.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So this is
Um,
somewhat, to me, it's somewhat like being being farsighted and going to the dime store and buying glasses that just, this is one
Yeah.
glass, and here's the next one, and here's the next one, and you can get the one that suits you the best. This is something like that, of course, a lot more expensive, but a way to increase your hearing without spending $6,000. And of course, that it's just something that may or may not work for you. But the fact of the matter, it was that Zvox and several others were there with this type of a product.
Yeah, and by the way, just check out their website. Not sponsored or anything like that, but hey, they're having a sale for $250 instead of $300. So
Oh,
you
okay.
can even get
All
in
right.
for $500. It's yeah, I guess you'd only need one in a lot of cases, but yeah, that's definitely very exciting. And I think we're just about out of time, so we're gonna have to wrap this up here. But Sandy, I mean, you really did a lot of legwork. Thank you for going out to CES and sharing your findings with us.
No problem. I enjoyed every minute of it. Next year, I expect you to be there too, Ben.
I plan on being there, definitely,
All
because
right.
hey, Vegas, it's never a bad time. So, Sandy,
That's
until
right.
next time, if people want to find out more, CompuKiss.com, of course, but where else can they go?
The article that we were talking about that I just wrote for next week is going to be on the pilot. It's thepilot.com. And if you search for Sandy Berger or you read the current Wednesday paper next week, you'll see my article in there. So that's another place you can see my writing.
There we go. All right, so everyone, we'll include links to that in the show notes. Sandy, until next month, thank you so much, and have a good one.
All right. Thank you. Bye,
right.
everyone.
Bye-bye. And everyone else, thank you for tuning in to Computer America. Always fun, and yeah, catch you here next time, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern.